resume and a cover letter? What purpose do they have in the job search? Are they important? How much time do I spend on them? These are all good questions, so let's get to work addressing them. The purpose of a resume and a cover letter is to land you a job interview. They work as an introduction to your professional qualifications and experience. They do not work as a personal introduction. How important are resumes and cover letters? Employers generally move very fast when they hire people. Most jobs are given after a quick series of resume matching and interviewing. You may get a job with only the right resume and a 30-minute interview. For this reason, the resume and cover letter will be judged very carefully, and your quality and fit for the job be judged immediately upon reading your resume and cover letter. The point is critical to understand. To have an equal chance against other qualified applicants, you must have a perfect resume and cover letter. Any mistake can cause your resume to be rejected. Before you begin writing your resume, you need to find the right paper for the task. This paper must be 8.5 by 11 inches, which is the standard American letter. Use a high-quality resume paper such as cotton bond. Some of these even have watermarks when you hold them up to the light. This is a sign of quality, and it shows the employer that you take your correspondence seriously. Choose a conservative color like plain white, ivory, or tan. Make sure you have fresh ink in your printer, and choose a conservative font like Times Roman or Arial in 10 to 12 points for a professional look.
So we're going to talk about the cover letter. The cover letter is where the employer gets a first look at your communicative style. A cover letter is like a dialogue. It should have a conversational tone, but also be professional, direct, concise, and written with a clear business format and organization. There are two different styles for formatting, and both are acceptable. Put your name and address in the upper right corner, but not in the margin, and the employer's name and address one space below it, and to the left margin. You may also include a date in the upper left corner at the margin. Next, skip down 2 or 3 lines and put the greeting. The greeting should be all capitals, and it is always better to use the person's name if you know it. It's more friendly. Now here are some examples of a greeting to choose from. Dear Mr., Mrs., Miss, and their last name. Dear Sir or Madam, to whom it may concern. So now on to the body. The body of the cover letter should use block writing, meaning you do not indent the first sentence of the paragraph. And between each paragraph there should be a space. Your first paragraph should say very clearly, confidently, and concisely what your objective is to show you want the job. In the next paragraph or paragraphs, you should begin a determined, persuasive argument that you are the perfect fit for that job. In the conclusion paragraph, thank the employer for the opportunity and leave him with the feeling that this is the right fit.
There are actually 3 styles of resume writing. They are chronological, functional, and creative. The chronological style, which is organized by time, is considered the most professional and popular format. Functional and creative resumes are more geared towards the artistic and non-traditional careers.
The components of a resume. Number 1, identifying information. The first bit of information you put on your resume will be your name, address, phone number, and a professional email address. You can also put an office number if appropriate. Make sure not to write in the margin, as it can be considered a huge mistake. Number 2, objective. The objective is what you seek. For example, objective lead project manager. Try to keep the objective specific to the job area, but not too specific in case there are other jobs available as well. For instance, if they have 3 jobs in the engineering department for lead software engineer 1, and software engineer 2, then give yourself a chance at all 3 jobs by putting as your objective just software engineer. The important thing about the objective is just that it matches one of the job titles that their company currently has available. If you choose to, you may also use a summary. This is like an objective, but it has more information about your objective and why you fit the job. Use a summary only if you have at least 5 years of experience, because sometimes summaries are generally an executive tool to advertise an in-depth experience. If you do not have that background and experience, then a summary could sound a bit too strong for the job and for your qualifications. Number 3, experience. You may choose to put your work experience before your education, or you can put your education first. You need to determine which makes you the better candidate. Put your most recent job first and work backwards. Be sure not to leave many gaps in time. If you did not work for several years, you should have a reason listed. Include the name and address, just the city and state of the employer, and include the dates that you work there. Be specific and include the month and year. Next, include your job title for each job and write a concise description of that job. Use the past tense grammar except for the current job. Don't be shy about your job description. Don't be arrogant. Be proud of your accomplishments and show your successes. Use action words to convey a positive, results-driven worker. Number 4, education. List all of your colleges and universities. Do not include high schools, as this is really considered relevant education. Include your school's name and location, the dates you attended, and your degrees from that school. Include any honors you have received. If your GPA was very high, it's okay to list these as well. If it was below a 3.0, then it's better to leave it out.
Hi, I'm Justin. What we're going to talk about today is things you should include in your resume. And things you should include in your resume is page numbers, because without page numbers, it's going to be hard for the employer to see maybe if you have more pages. That way you don't miss anything. You should put down any foreign languages you may speak, professional memberships or awards, degrees, or honors you have acquired, license, titles, or certificates, military service or security clearances, volunteer work, and an interest that you feel fits for the company's culture. Also hobbies, but only if it really pertains to what job you're applying to. And those are all things you should put on your resume.
Some items not to include on a resume are photos, although you can use them on a LinkedIn page or portfolio, which I'll touch upon later. Never include your age, marital status, number of kids, or any other personal information, including ethnicity or race. Do not provide reasons for leaving a former job or your past salary. Career objective statements are a general statement about your career goals. They don't really help to prove you are a good choice for the job and risk distracting from the important information on your resume. Once again, consider using a professional profile such as LinkedIn instead. Try not to use excessive fonts on a resume in an attempt to attract attention. Also, do not use data dumps. Data dumps are simply using too much text on a resume. White space rules in this instance. Do not use excessive technical jargon. Your resume is generally viewed by human resources first, and they may have no idea what you are referring to. Never list your availability or any mandates or demands. You're selling yourself, not trying to buy a job. Try not to use I or me in a resume, or any cliche phrases such as results-oriented professional. These phrases were copied from the American military and are overused. Only use phrases when you can back them up with verifiable information. Speaking of verifiable information, you should also never lie on a resume. References are no longer standard practice on resumes. When you end your resume, just have a brief statement along the lines of references can be supplied upon request, or provide a detailed list of references in a portfolio. If your resume is going to go beyond 2 pages long, it may be a good idea to create a portfolio to showcase your talents. Portfolio is a compilation of materials that shows your beliefs, skills, qualifications, education, and training. It provides insight into your personality and work ethic. All in all, it is a representation of your professionalism. Once your resume gets your foot in the door, you need to prepare for the interview.
When going into an interview, you want to look your best. You want to look professional, clean, and trustworthy. If you do go to an interview, first things first, take a shower and wear some deodorant, also some perfume or cologne. It lets your potential employer know that you care about your personal hygiene and appearance. Also, you want to wear non-stained and non-ripped clothes. For guys, a nice pair of slacks and a polo or button-up are perfectly appropriate. You could also wear a suit and tie if you want to look even more professional. T-shirts, printed shirts, jeans, and tennis shoes are something you want to stay away from. For girls, pants-wise, dress pants or a knee-length skirt are appropriate. A dress is okay if it has enough skin covered and is long enough. For tops, stay away from printed shirts, low-cut shirts, or anything showing cleavage, back, stomach area, thigh, or just too much skin. The less skin, the better. For people with tattoos and piercings, cover them up or take them out. A nice set of earrings for girls are appropriate for an interview, but lip, eye, nose, tongue, or any other piercings visible over clothes you should temporarily take out. Tattoos should also be covered up unless you are going to an interview at a tattoo shop. Even the tattoo is a pretty butterfly or your child's name, it should be covered. It may be innocent, but to potential employers, it can look unprofessional. Some more things to make sure you do is not to wear sunglasses. You could also clean shave your face, groom yourself, and try to stay from wild colors in your hair depending on the job. Anytime you go to an interview, you want to look hireable. Just remember, the more professional, the better, and you will be on your way to having a more potential career by dressing more appropriately.
My name's Justin, and what I'm going to be covering today is the interview questions you should ask in an interview and the ones you shouldn't ask. And generally in an interview, the questions you should be asking tend to be about what you can do for the company, how can you contribute to the company, and not so much about, say, what I can get out of the company. And generally, some good questions to ask, and these are rated the top 10 on Vault.com. It would be, number one, how would you describe the responsibilities of this position? How would you describe the typical week or day in this position? Is this a new position? And if not, what did the previous employer go on to do? What is the company's management style? What are the prospects for growth and advancement? Would you like any references? If I'm extended a job offer, how soon would you like me to start? What can I tell you about my qualifications? What can I expect to hear from you? Are there any questions I can answer for you? Generally, these questions are about what's going on in the company and how you can help them. You're also asking for the references. You're helping him out by showing the references. You're showing that you qualify for the job. Everything revolves about how you can contribute to the company. And some questions you shouldn't ask are what is my salary for this position? And that's a questionable one too. You should wait for that one after you've been offered a job. You know you have the job, and that's when you kind of ask those type of questions. Wait till after you've been offered a position and decide from other places you've been interviewed at whether or not you're going to take that position. Or when do I get vacation? You don't want to be asking the interviewer that. It might be okay to go ask the HR person after the interview and ask them questions about that stuff. But never the interviewer, never the person that's making a decision for you. Or also, when do I get insurance? Anything that applies to what you're going to pull out of the company. So that's after you've been offered a job, or go directly to the HR person and ask them those questions. And that pretty much sums it up for good questions and bad questions. You got a general idea, and then go ahead and look up some more on your own.
Hey there, I'm Andy, and today I'm going to be telling you the do's and don'ts of following up on an interview. I have a number of very important do's and don'ts. The first one, what you want to do is follow up via email within a 24-hour period of your interview. This way you can thank them for their time and explain, that you were grateful and all that. What you don't want to do is rush the email without proofreading it or delay it too long. Again, a big thing is that 24-hour period. You don't want to go over that period, or it might seem inconsiderate or lazy. And you want to have somebody proofread your email to make sure that it's free of errors. Another thing you want to do is notify your references about the job and make sure that they know that you have them as a reference. You don't want to just put them down and not check with them first. What you don't want to do is ask the reference to directly initiate the conversation with the interviewer or hiring manager, as that puts a lot of pressure on the hiring manager and will probably not get you the job. What you want to do also is make sure that your social media profile pages are all appropriate and reflect you positively and in a business-like way, because they often check that. What you don't want to do is share too much information about the interview on the internet, or worse yet, friend the interviewer, because this only puts a lot of pressure on the interviewer. Another thing you want to do is think about sending a handwritten thank you letter, as this shows a lot of courtesy and shows that you mean well. You don't want to send gifts or constantly trying to contact the interviewer, though, as this may again put pressure and be seen as being too desperate. And lastly, you do want to call them if you haven't heard in a week or more, just to check to make sure that you have to make sure that there's not a misunderstanding. And what you don't want to do is call the interviewer over and over, as again, this makes you seem desperate and needy. And that is all that I have, and that is it.
Alright, so I'm going to give you some tips that you can use to be prepared for your interview. First, you need to research the place of employment you're going to go for. Visit the location, find out what they do and what they sell. Find out what the typical work week is going to be like for hour-wise. The second tip would be practice. It makes you sound less nervous. You can figure out what you're going to say. Practice some of the questions, some of the common questions they would ask you. Dress to impress is the third. You want to make a first good impression. If it's an office job, wear a dark suit. If it's like a factory construction job where there's not really a dress code, wear some slacks, a nice polo shirt or something like that. The fourth tip would be be prepared to ask questions. This shows that you're interested in the position and that you really want the job. Make sure that you're the interviewee and not the interviewer. And last, follow up with a thank you note. This shows that you're really interested in the job and that you're pleased to have the time to be interviewed by the interviewer. It also shows that you're being polite and professional, and that always makes a great first impression. And now, here are some questions that they would commonly ask you during an interview. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Why did you leave your last company? What can you offer the company? What would your last 3 managers say about you? What's your biggest failure, and what motivates you? Thank you.